Right, a little bit of a false start there. Hopefully that music isn't too loud, as it doesn't let me preview the background music I've got running there, so it should be quite low without being off. But anyway, what I thought I'd cover today is my sorting and editing process. Now, how I do it might be different than what other people do, and it may suit you, it may not, but if you're new to using Lightroom and Photoshop, it's quite a good starting point to bounce off from. You may end up doing things slightly different. I haven't covered importing files into Lightroom. That's a whole different kettle of fish altogether. But effectively, when I import, I create duplicates to another drive of the RAWs. I set up the renaming of the files in a specific way, which is whatever the event is, followed by the 4-digit number the camera assigns to the file, followed by the word original, and I import as DNGs. I also add tags in at import time, and I run a metadata preset to put my copyright information into every file. Then once they're imported, the first thing I do if it's a multi-day event, like this tennis, which I'm going to be going through here, I select the ones for that day and I give them a colour tag. In this case there's only 2 days, so it's yellow and blue, as I'll show in a minute. See, down here, these thumbnails are all got a yellow background. We go along here a bit, there's a bunch of blue ones. And if there was a third day, I'd have a bunch that were green or something, whatever. There's 5 colours to choose from, so, you know. The other thing I do, once they're all imported into Lightroom, my folder structure is, I have one root drive called camera. There's other topic folders inside that, one of which is sports. And inside sports is the various sports that I'm editing. So you'll see here there's secondary school water polo, some left to do. There's an almost permanent Devils folder, inline hockey folder here because it's got some logo information. Then there was the pickleball, which I haven't finished, and Waikato Junior Tennis, which I'm going to go through here. And inside that folder I have 2 main folders, which is normal, that's edit and not used, because I do not throw away any image that I've rejected until after I've finished editing. So what I do in the sorting process, which you'll see in a minute, is I mark them as a reject and I move them into the not used folder. Then the edit folder, once I've edited some files, I move them into the edited folder. In this case, for this, there's 2 folders inside that because I'm uploading them to a website for sale, and there's eventually, once that sales site's had a couple of weeks, I'm going to upload a bunch to Facebook. So I've got a social media size that goes in this folder, but normally I wouldn't have these 2 folders. I'd just have, well, I'd have the uploaded one, I just wouldn't have the Facebook one. So first thing I do is I go through these and look for ones that I want to edit. That one there, some action, he's in the air, ball's present, that looks interesting. That one not so much, so I'll hit X. I've already done some of these, so I might as well go through these. The one thing I do for this, or that I should cover, is I create a catalogue, not a catalogue, a collection down here, which is underneath your folders down here. I'm in library mode. I create a collection called Waikato, in this case Waikato Junior blah blah blah, and I make that the active collection, because what I do is I send these to the collection, because you can see there's 394 files left to edit. I'm not going to sit there jumping around all those, because I don't particularly want to do them all in just chronological order. I want to pick a few files from different parts of the day so that all kids get a chance to have their photos up at a reasonably even rate. So I'll go through here. I want to keep that one, I want to use that one, so I hit B, which is the key for sending it to your default collection. I hit P to show it's a pick. Same for this one. I got bored earlier and I've already partially sorted out a few. So all these are going into the collection. Sometimes when I'm taking photographs, any that I think stand out that are worth serious consideration, I put a star in the camera, because my camera can do that. That lets me know to seriously consider that one before anything else. I've done most, and there's probably a few stragglers here, so I'll pick that one and send it. So if you look down here at our collection, we've got 9 photographs in the collection, which is separated out from the main ones. Now, out of these 2, I prefer that one to that one. So I'll hit X on that one, go to that one, hit B and P to pick it and put it in my collection. And there's two here. That one the ball's in, that one the ball's too far up. So that's probably the one I'll prefer. Hit X. Just to make things easier, I often just shift these down parts so that the reject ones are sitting there for a little while. That's definitely reject. That one, the ball's too high to be of any concern, but I can crop in and keep just that. So I'll keep that one. Move that over here. That, yeah, nah, that one doesn't strike me as being worth doing anything with. That one's probably not bad. It's an odd pose, but it's not too bad. I might keep that for now. The cool thing with sending them to the collection and picking them is that I can take them out of the collection and reject them later on if I choose to. See, that one's definitely reject. His hand's blocking his face, and I've got other ones like that's a usable one. That's probably usable. Now that'll do me in the yellows, this end. So I drag those into the not used and wait for Lightroom to catch up. They can sit there for a while, then go down here. Let me see. What is it? Oh, yep. Have a close look at this one. Yeah, it's a bit bright, but it'll do. So we'll might take that one and that one. Ooh, that's a reasonably good action shot, even though there is a player in the background, but that's fine. That one, not so good. That one, it's not too bad. Gives me more of a selection of this player. That might be okay. Drag that reject to the not used folder. Now we'll just scoot down to here. I was looking at these earlier, and there's some good ones of this player because she was quite energetic. So we've got the difference between these two is mostly the position of the legs. That's okay if it was the only one I had, but that looks a hell of a lot more interesting because there's just more action in it. So I'll keep that one, reject that one. That's nothing outstanding. Nothing outstanding. Definitely not. Definitely not. See, another cool action shot. But there's another one next to it. Yeah, see, that one's not so good. That one's far better. These ones here, I don't see any reason to keep these two. What have we got here? See, another one where she's serving. That mightn't be too bad. I've got a similar one to that somewhere, but we'll keep that one. So take these rejects, dump them in the not used folder. Keeping in mind that this is just my way of doing it. You may not want to do the not used folder. You might just want to mark them as rejects and leave them sitting there for all I care. I'm just talking about the way I do it. Now I'm on to the second day, and let's see what we can get of this kid here. That should be okay. This was a difficult day to photograph because of the sun, but I can crop in here, so that one should work. Keep in mind, because these are being added to a collection and not being and being picked, I can always remove them from the collection. See, that one's not that fascinating. That's not bad. No. Sometimes it's what I think will be good for that the kids might like, or the coaches might like, or something like that. That one I'll keep, actually. Oh, to reject, by the way, I'm hitting X if you haven't used Lightroom before. See, that one I like. That one, yeah. I only need one or the other of these two, so I'll pick that one. Here we go, the serve. That's too high, so that's reject. Keep that one. What do we got here? There's nothing outstanding with that one. That's not bad. Both of those are just different versions of the same one. And I sort of prefer that one. Reject. Reject. So now I'll just move these rejects. I click on the first one, then hold down Control while I click on the others. If you use a Mac, I wouldn't have a clue. I presume you hold down Control for that as well. I just don't use a Mac. So right now I've got a selection there, all in a collection down here. There's 29 of them. So now I click on the collection. Let's scroll up a bit so I can see my folders again. Now I'll go through here and pick one to edit. Let's pick this one here. I really like that one. Now go to the develop mode. Just realised there's no, I don't think there's any just quickly go back to here. Oh, yep. Okay. Be patient with me. I'm still trying to figure out how this best works. Right, back to Lightroom. So this is one I'm going to edit. I'm in develop mode. Go to the crop tool. 90% of the time I crop first, unless I know I'm going to be copying the light and color settings from image to image, because when you hit, if I go from this one to this one and hit previous, it'll do exactly what I did in the previous one. So if I do crop in like this to there, straighten it up just a little bit, go, oh yep, that's my crop. As soon as if I go to this other one and hit previous, it'll do exactly the same. So first of all, so sometimes I'll come in here and adjust the exposure first, drop the highlights a bit. You just drop the total exposure a fraction. Bump the texture just a little bit. Now, if I go to this next photograph along, which is same conditions, same lighting, etc., etc., hit previous, it also does the crop, does everything I did in the previous one. So I just go in here and change the crop. Hey presto, we got that about there. Now, I would normally go through and do this for all these images. This one here is a bit, sometimes I'll just do, the lighting's a bit that stands out, so I'll do that first. Come to crop, slide the side in a bit. I don't want to put the ball too close to the left hand side. I'm using this pole, these poles and everything to estimate straight. You can't rely on some of these poles on being straight. Anything straight up and down you can guide. Anything going horizontal is not a good guide, but anything vertical, you sort of have to look, are these posts and these posts the same? If they are, then I can generally count on them being a good guide. Now, normally I'd go through and do all the Lightroom editing for this whole set or subset of photographs, all of them. But you don't want to wait that long. You may want to hang around. Once I've done these three and finished them, I'll go back and start at the beginning. But what I next do is, on this one that's selected in Windows, Control E sends it to Photoshop, opens Photoshop up, wait for it to open the image up. There we go. Now I've got a bunch of presets, not presets, they call them actions in Photoshop. Wish they'd all use the same term, but anyway, I got a bunch of actions in Photoshop, and I'm in button mode. There's the normal mode for actions that you see. In fact, I'll go in here because I want to change something on one of these. At the moment, for the next quite a while, these are my main actions I'm using, so I just go and tweak the name of them, and because I prefer the button mode. Now they've got stars beside them. That one the star can come out of it. This is just my way of not accidentally hitting the wrong one. That way the starred ones are the ones I'm pretty much the only ones I'm going to be using. Now this, in this button mode, all I have to do is click this and it runs the action. In this non-button mode, you have to choose your action, then hit play. So just for convenience, I use this mode. But that action there is pretty much as it is. It resizes it to the size of my sensor in pixels, rounded up. It's actually 7,915 or 25 or something or other. And I just rounded it down to the nearest round number. Now when I hit that, it resizes it to what I call full size, and these are being saved, if you notice here, Waikato Junior Tennis, in the edited folder. And I have a very specific naming system for these sorts of things. You'll notice when I imported them, this part here, plus the, actually just go back, this part, that there, is minus the edit. That's added on when you send it to Photoshop, so we'll take that out to start with. But what you see there, minus the PSD DNG, that bit there is the file name given to it on import. Now, name this full size. There's a full size, and I want JPEG. If I think I might later on tweak the lighting or something else for different purposes, like to go in a magazine or something, I might save it as a full-size TIFF, which is uncompressed, or at least very little compression. But see, these are not likely to have any further editing to them. Nothing's going to be done to these, so save it. I always use quality 12 large file. Progressive. Don't know why that was changed. I must have accidentally clicked it. Baseline's not too bad, which is standard. That's a little bit better. Right. Now I've saved it. Now there's no other editing to be done, which is why I've gone straight to saving it full size. There's no other editing to be done in Photoshop. Now I've got another preset here because I want these as 5,000 along the longest side for this website that's selling the images. So that's high res, almost full size but not quite. But I also want my signature on them. So what this does is that actually runs two previous actions I created. One to resize it, 5,000 full DPI, it runs that. And once it's run that, it runs this one down here, my signature large. And I get, Control 0, my signature. Now the reason I do this is because Lightroom doesn't give you the facility to change what this looks like when you export. The signature looks like when you export. Now you can barely read it. So my first call port is linear dodge. I might go to there because it's a light background. Choose that. Yeah, choose that. Then I might just drop the opacity a little bit so it's not too. I don't want it to stand out too far. I just want it as it's not a watermark. It's a signature. Yes, it's got the copyright thing in it, but that's beside the point. It's a signature. I consider it, not a watermark. So now that I've done that, I then hit save. Control S. I've redone my keys, so in Photoshop for me, Control S is save copy as, because I'd been using that long before they changed how they did the thing, the save as, so I just changed the key assignment. And in here, I name it appropriately, JPEG, save, same folder. Then I've got this resized to 1920x. I've also got this 1920 sign, but because I've already got the signature in here, all I just want to do is resize it. So I click that, it's resized. This is my social media size. Oops, rename it. And always remember to choose JPEG. And that is basically the process ended for that photo. For most of these, my portrait ones are a little bit different because for some of the portraits I need to save a PSD file or something like that as well, just in case the client wants a change in the edit and I have to go back to it. Now normally, because I've edited all these in Lightroom, I'd be sitting in the library mode, and I take this photograph that I've just finished. Keep in mind it's sitting in a collection and it's in the Waikato Junior Tennis Club folder, this DNG file. I drag the thumbnail to the uploaded folder. There you go. Notice it hasn't been taken out of the collection yet. It's been moved to a different folder, but the Lightroom has kept track of where it is and changed the pointer to show that it's still in that collection. So I hit B, takes it out of the collection and moves me on to the next one. And again, Control E. Now, a suspicious look on this kid. This is going to be an interesting one because we've got this bit down here. Now there's two ways to deal with this. One, I'm on the remove tool. And now keep in mind, if you haven't used these tools before, the AI generative part has a limited number of uses before it starts slowing down. That's quite a generous amount, but still. So I always assess which one of these I need to use. Remove tool's probably not going to work for this, but we'll give it a go just so you can see what it looks like. Remove tool, yeah, not ideal because the fence has disappeared effectively. So Control Z. So we can go up to select the lasso tool and select it. Now the interesting thing is when you select a piece and then go back to the remove tool and run it over just that selection, sometimes it does the same as the AI stuff, but no, it didn't this time. So go back to the lasso tool or any one of the selection tools, right click, choose delete and fill. It's not too bad, but it's noticeable. So Control Z. Looks like, and I would have guessed this to start with because of the fence wire, I have to use generative fill. Have no choice. Sometimes waiting for it to do its thing, it's like watching paint dry. Waiting, 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 waiting. It didn't do too bad. You can still see a hint of the fence. I can choose one of these options here. That one's probably a little bit closer. It's not perfect, but it's better than the old school way of doing it. I then hit Control or Control Shift E to squish that down, to merge that down. I'm not going to bother with this up here normally. It's highly unlike, well, it's not relevant. I'm not afraid to remove stuff, but there's things like that was just a little annoying, but that was a distraction in the side because it was right behind her. While this potentially could be distracting, it's not a big issue. One could give it a go, but there's a good chance it may not work. We can always give it a go and see what we get, but I know straight away that has to be a generative fill option. I know we don't have any option other than that because nothing else will work. And it may work and it may not. The good thing with generative fill is it puts it on its own layer. Yeah, it worked, but if you notice, it took away this and this here. Now, in most cases, most people wouldn't notice that. So it's a case of, do I keep the yellow and keep this bit of fancy post thing? Or do I, that one's not too bad, or do I choose something like that, which it's not obvious to anyone that was not there that there should be something going up there, because that's all behind and hidden. It's not as obvious as this fence post here. So I might go with that actually, it's not too bad. Again, go up to my actions, hit that. Full size. Next action. Yeah, my signature's okay. You can see it. It's not too intrusive. So that'll do me. And then this becomes a repetitive task of doing pretty much the same thing again and again and again. But that's actually a good thing. By having an organized system, I'm just repeating the same series of tasks and you can get quite fast at it after a while. Now, you may ask about those other folders I created. That's because in here I take the full size one from each of these two, and I'll put it in the uploaded. I take the 1920X from both of these and put them in for Facebook, because that's going to sit there for a couple of weeks. That leaves me these to upload to the website, and this will eventually populate with all the 5000X ones that are going to go onto the website. And then once I upload them, they'll all shift into this uploaded folder out of the way. Again, go to the original that's in the collection, drag it to the uploaded folder, hit B to take it out of my collection, and now I'm on to the next one. And it's basically it's a rinse and repeat situation here. So I'll finish this one off. I'm okay with that. And this is how I get through a heap of photos in normally a relatively short space of time, depending on how things go. Now the signature is quite small, it's barely visible down there, so we'll go to there. Yep, that's not too intrusive. So over time I've developed a set of actions, like a way of doing things that speeds up as much as I can while still leaving me time to spend on images I think need a little bit more attention. So now I'll show you more about how the normal procedure goes. So we don't forget to drag this to here, hit B, take it out of the collection, go to the front of this queue of photographs. The biggest thing with these is you can't do much about this text because I'm not going to worry about it too much generally. This whiteboard here, that's the scoreboard. If you remove that, no one's going to notice it's gone. So when I crop, drag up to roughly how much room at the bottom I think we need, down to about there. Go, do I want that? No, because the bulk of the picture is all up and down, all vertical, there's a lot of wasted space here. So while I'm in crop mode, I hit X, changes it to that. Go, oh yeah, now I know he's serving sort of this way, so it doesn't hurt to just, there's dead center, move it just off dead center. None of this thirds stuff, just off dead center. And work out, we want a little bit of space at the bottom and a little at the top, but you don't want to get too carried away. Don't worry about the sky in the background. It was a cloudy day with a reasonable amount of sunshine. I'll brighten that up just a little bit. What I'm looking at when I'm brightening this up is the shirt. I don't want the shirt to go lose too much of its colour. If I went to there, no. It's getting, but I don't want it so too dark either, so I want to go to about there. The good thing with these is for most of these there's not a problem with lighting like some of these others. Most of these ones in the blue. See, here we've got strong shadows. And for this one, I might bump the lighting up, the exposure up a little bit, and then drop the highlights down. A little bit of shadows. I don't want to wash it out too far. And that's not too bad. I could go in and hit the masking and let it choose him. and do a couple of fine adjustments. You don't want to get too carried away, but wait for it to do its thing. It's done a reasonable job of selecting him, but not the tennis racket. I could go in here, bump the exposure on him, drop the blacks a little bit, drop the highlights so skin doesn't stand out, and basically it's not a big difference, but it does keep a bit of the darkness of the shirt and the texture while taking away some of the highlights. For most of these, it's not what I'd call overly relevant. It's not a big deal. For this, I'll try and crop out that bottom bit of shadow from, it's probably a sign on one of the fences that the sun's shining past. Again, because of the position of this, I'll move him to about there. I'm not too worried about this here. If this bit wasn't behind him, I might remove this, but because in other photographs you'll see that, then that, there's no advantage in removing just that, and I'm not going to spend ages with generative filter, generative AI thing to remove all this. It's not a big deal. Now this one here, the interesting thing with this is where, go straight to that, I may not keep this one. I'll just see if it's half decent, because that tennis ball is going to be hard to see. It's not too bad. You can just see it. Might bring the crop in at the bottom a little bit and at the top a bit. It's not too bad. It shows a bit of, you can see what he's doing. Yes, it's very bright at the top. There's nothing much you can do about that. I'm not into faking the sky for these, because they're not artsy ones, they are sports stuff, so I'm not into replacing the sky, and it would have trouble where this fence is anyway. So I'll leave that one as is. The only difference between these is a slight position of the player. So there is no advantage in keeping both of them. You know, his hand here is a bit different. Yeah, because I was burst shooting, these are so close it's not funny. So now I've decided I'm not going to keep this one. So I can go back to the library. I can hit X to exit out. Keep in mind it's still in the collection. Drag it to not used. Again, it's still in the collection. Hit B, it disappears. Get back to develop and carry on with these. The faces, I love the weird faces sports people pull when they're exerting themselves. Alright, this one here, ooh, that's a bit close. See, the difference, that is a bit tight. If you went in and did that, that's a different story altogether. But that is a little bit looser, need a little bit more room. And for this one, because of the dynamics of it, him being on the 1/3 actually works for this. It doesn't work every time. You can't just assume having someone on the 1/3 is going to work. But it looks okay. Now this is one of the ones that in Lightroom I could remove this logo and this bit of text if I wanted to, because no one's going to know whether it was there or not. They're not going to notice it's not there. So I could remove it if I felt like it. Pretty much the same here. I'm not going to bother because it's not a big deal. And same as this here, these feet behind here and this person, I could give it a go, but it may not work perfectly and it would be a little bit noticeable, whereas people will expect to see a body walking behind here. But using the AI stuff to remove this, I've got to select the whole lot, and it may not work brilliantly, and it's not worth my time to piss around with it because it's not that relevant, especially when it just adds context to the whole thing to leave it there anyway. It'd be different if it was just that 1 foot. I might have a different opinion on it. Most of these are not needing much in the way of light adjustments. Now this is an interesting one. Yes, technically, oh no, that's a hat. I thought it was the ball coming up. No, so there's no ball visible in this one. And that's not a bad crop. I'd probably do that. I could go for square. Square would work. But I think that square has them too boxed in. So I would just crop it like that. See what it looks like and go, oh yeah, I prefer that. That appeals to me more. On the other hand, this is, I'm 90% sure, a square crop jobby. So I'll leap straight to square crop, come in, come up. She's a bit stuttery because I'm... Yep. Now, in Lightroom, I will definitely remove this because it's just a little tiny bit in the corner and doesn't need to be there. If you're shooting for a sports magazine or a newspaper and you're shooting sports, you can't really get away with doing that too much because someone might claim it's a false representation of the day. But these are more for memories for the parents and the kids, these photographs. So removing stuff like that isn't a big deal. Now this one here, brighten that up a bit. Could see how well it selects him. Could just go background, screw it. Let it see if it selects the background well. Yeah, it doesn't quite do it with the tennis ball, but that's fine. And what I might do here is just drop the exposure of the background 0.29, which isn't a big difference, but it makes the kids stand out just that little bit, just enough just to notice them more. Now when I go through to Photoshop, there is a 99% chance I'll probably remove this here and this here if it goes smoothly, mainly because it's right on the edge of the image and I just find it a bit distracting, and it's not important to the photograph or the story in the photograph, so removing it isn't really a big thing. If it goes smoothly, this one here, I've got two options for cropping. I can crop into about there, put that kid in the background right up against the edge and come in here, but I don't think that works too well compared to putting him on the 1/3, bringing the crop in just a little bit, maybe moving it forward a bit so most of that other player's cropped out. I think that looks better. There's no tennis ball and stuff, but it's showing the movement and action of his feet and so forth. This one here, I can tell by looking at his shirt that I need to drop some highlights a little bit. Again, a non-square crop for this is not quite as good, probably, as a square crop. I feel that because he's doing a backhand, I've got the empty space on this side, on the left hand side. This one here is a bit tricky because the ball's way up there, and to crop that, it could be tricky, and the ball's going to be right near the edge. So what we can do is we can do a square crop and go in tight on him, and we have a bit of mystery. Or we can do a non-square crop and go into there, like that. But I don't think that's quite as good as doing a square crop and having that roughly. So yeah, that's my that's a brief bit of editing for now. I'll do something similar to this on Monday again, just for anyone that's around on Monday morning, since I've got to be sitting here editing anyway. So yeah.